on Utah Wedding Central, we are talking about wedding vendor professionals. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
We're talking about the vendors that you include in your wedding.
Utah edition.
How you go about treating your wedding vendors on your wedding day. Hello again.
Hi. So let's talk Utah wedding vendors, the do's and the don'ts, and the most Googled and the most awkward questions you might have about vendors.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So first of all, when we say vendor,
Mm-hmm.
we are talking about specifically vendors that you pay for a specific service for your wedding. We're not talking about your cousin who's going to be your photographer or anyone who's doing you a favor necessarily, but we're talking about the wedding professionals that you pay to perform a service for your wedding day.
Yes.
We actually have a whole episode about terminology, wedding terminology, and Utah wedding terminology.
Because it's different.
Yep, you're going to want to watch that one before this one if you'd like, but also refer to that one if you get confused on some of the terms that we say. But yeah, so this includes basically everybody.
Yeah.
So the list.
Just read the list.
Here's a list. So you've got the wedding coordinator, the venue director or manager, the venue staff, the officiant, your photographer, videographer, content creator, caterer, florist, DJ or live band, decor supplier or decorator, apparel, hair and makeup artist, cake, desserts, jeweler, stationery, invitations, limo driver for any transportation, draping, specialty lighting, bartenders, fireworks even, and preservation specialists, anyone that's even involved before or after your wedding, you know, like your ring and your gown, all of those things.
If you've ever been to a bridal expo, you'll see how many types of vendors there are. It's crazy.
Yes.
I remember the first time I was at an expo working and met my very first mobile bathroom specialist. He was coming around and introducing himself, and I was like, "What do you do now?" Because I never but it was amazing. These luxury mobile bathrooms if you're doing off-grid stuff or things like that. So it's actually very useful as a wedding vendor. But I remember the first time. So there are a lot of like specialty or different type of vendors that you wouldn't think of, but it's such cool stuff. Like we know an alpaca experience in Utah that they bring alpacas to your wedding, which you probably go,
okay.
Oh, why? The people love it.
Oh,
absolutely.
The
kids go crazy about the alpacas. It's so much fun. And they have like pretty flowers on them. I was like, that alpaca is fancier than I am right now.
And so shout out to Peppergrass Farm.
Yes.
She's fantastic with her alpacas. Mac and cheese.
And the mac and cheese, I forgot that was their name.
They're so fun.
It's so fun.
We'll do an interview with her for sure.
Also, the drink donkey. I still haven't met him.
The drink
donkey. I don't remember his name. He's so cute. I've just seen pictures of him. He was at a bridal show that I worked in Utah, but I was working the whole time and I didn't get to go out and meet him because they were like, go meet the drink donkey. He's exactly what he sounds like. He's a donkey.
Yeah,
he has these really cute saddlebags, and there's drinks in his saddlebags. And he just wanders around.
I honestly thought you meant
adorable.
A drunk donkey.
No, I mean not the drunk donkey.
Sounds hilarious.
I don't know what his name is, but he's so cute.
That's cute.
And you get drinks out of his saddlebags, and I still didn't get to meet him. I feel like I missed out. Anyway. So there's a lot of different kinds of vendors, and a lot of really cool random specialty. We want to introduce you to all the cool different specialty vendors.
So if you do have somebody that we have to interview that's a special
like
Utah,
a drink donkey,
like a drink donkey or a fancy toilet guy that we need to interview, please go ahead now and submit those requests to our email, episodes@utahweddingcentral.com. We definitely are taking all your suggestions.
There's even I love bridal shows for that reason. If I could just go to bridal shows to meet all the cool vendors. There's even one, I don't remember who this is. If you hear this, then you know who you are. Tell us who you are. I'm trying to remember. She's a preservation specialist, but she also does a thing where because tennis shoes at your wedding is like becoming more and more common, comfy footwear. And she'll do tennis shoes, but then she takes the flowers at your wedding and she embroiders the flowers onto the shoe, like the type, and even like the date and stuff. So she turns your shoes into this like keepsake, and then you wear them on your wedding, but then every day after you can wear those shoes, and it's really cute. Anyway, there's adorable stuff out there. We want to know all of it. So tell us all the things.
Obviously, the type of involvement your vendors have with you are going to be very different. Like you're not going to see your jeweler at your wedding, most likely.
Yeah.
But you will your photographer.
Yeah.
And they're going to be there during dinner, and they're going to be there the whole time on their feet, probably. So there's a wide range to that. So we'll discuss which vendors to take into account over other vendors.
So you're probably wondering, why does this matter? Why are we even doing a video about this and about, vendor relations or questions about how to treat your vendors? And it's like, you work so hard planning, you put so much time and effort and planning into your wedding. Your vendors are the people that bring that to life.
Right.
Though they're the ones, you can't have that dream day that you've planned so carefully without your vendors to actually execute everything.
Right.
And we have feelings because we've been vendors. And we've been a couple different kinds of wedding vendors. Right. So we understand how this is coming from our side of it, and how the little things that you can do really make a difference.
But we've also been on the other side too, where I've helped plan some of my siblings' weddings. And so I was working with vendors. And so we've been on both sides of the scale. And so we are hoping that we can give you enough insight for both sides.
Well, and having a good relationship and good communication with your vendors really can affect how good a job they do on your wedding. I don't mean that hopefully, like, if you're rude to your vendors or something, they're going to do a bad job on your wedding. I don't mean that. I just mean the more the communication is good and the relationship is good, the more they care, the more they're going to want to do even the best and better and great job for you. Just because they care. They care even more.
Oh, and we'll tell you right now that all of your wedding vendors, most of them are small business people, and they care.
They do.
They care hard.
Or they wouldn't be doing it.
No, they wouldn't. And they're human. And that's partly why we are doing a lot of vendor interviews, because we want you to meet the business owner behind the business, because they are human and they are people, and they have feelings, and they get hungry, and all those things. And the more you understand a person and get to know somebody, the more you can care about them as well.
Yeah.
So there's a point.
There is. It's very important. Another reason why this matters, that it matters to you, because first of all, they'll do an even better job when the relationship is good. But also, Utah weddings is a smaller market than it is in other states. Like, there are less wedding professionals in Utah than there are in a lot of other states, which sounds funny because we have a lot of weddings here. But it's just a smaller community, and it's a tight-knit community. People know each other. A lot of people know each other. And people talk to each other. You know that if you've ever had a good or bad experience with like a company or store or things like that, or they've had a bad customer or things like that, or you work in the store, you've had a bad customer. You talk about those kinds of experiences. And
people tell stories.
And wedding vendors talk about when someone was horrible to them. And you might think, like, why would that matter to me though? Why would I care if my wedding vendors are going to talk about me if my wedding's all done? Like, it doesn't matter to me. But those professionals do other things, and they know other professionals. So maybe if you treated your wedding photographer badly, and they talk, and then you want to book family photos later, other photographers might not want to work with you as much if they heard that, oh no, they, they did this, or they, so you just want to make sure that it's good talks on both sides, on all the sides, because that can affect you in the future too.
Oh yeah. And you don't want to be blacklisted by a vendor.
No. And that goes both ways too. There are vendors
vendors don't want that either.
No,
they don't want to be blacklisted at a venue or
Let's just all get along. Now to the questions.
Okay, question number 1. Should you feed your vendors during your wedding? Well, our answer is yes. Yes, you should, and we'll tell you why. Well, first of all, if a vendor works more than 4 to 5 hours straight on your wedding day, or a different day leading up to your wedding, like the rehearsal dinner or something, then it's just a common courtesy that you should feed them if they're going to be there.
That's different than like if your cake maker drops off the cake.
Right. You don't expect to feed them. Sit down with you and your family. No. But there's been a little controversy on this though. Like, well, some people would say, well, I go to work every day 9 to 5. I have to bring my own meal.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so there's that take on it. Like, well, they can bring their own food. Well, yeah, they could.
They could, but weddings are so unpredictable as far as like the vendor doesn't know necessarily what the kitchen situation is going to be at your venue. They don't know if there is a fridge. I've worked times where storing stuff in the fridge was not an option.
Or a microwave.
Because there wasn't a prep kitchen. So it was like, well, I can't take food with me because there's no way to keep it cold until I need it at lunchtime. And if I'm working a 14-hour shift on a wedding, I can't take food in the morning and then not eat all day.
No, and then there's also the fact that often, even if there's a kitchen on site, the photographer is not allowed in there.
Yeah.
They're not one of the food related vendors, therefore they're not allowed to go in. And so
because that's a health department thing too. It can be like a thing they regulate who's allowed to go in the kitchen and who's not.
Yes. So there's that. They could always bring a sandwich, I guess, and keep it in their little fanny pack. But again,
Tits, drop a cooler to your bed.
Do you want that though? Do you want them to whip out this sandwich and like PB&J and be eating near everybody? I mean, that's another reason. Like, why not have an extra meal for them so they can sit and eat and be fueled for your wedding, so that they can be happy and have the energy and not faint.
Well, and sometimes you think, why couldn't they go buy food? They could, but again, they don't know where food is going to be. If you're off grid or you're slightly removed, a lot of wedding venues are removed and there's not restaurants close by. Right. Or there's not time. Right. We've both worked those where there literally was not time, depending on the job you're doing on the wedding day. There's not time to leave and go find food and come back again. I've done when I was managing where it was like, if it was just me or if it was just you, you've done that where it's like, I can't leave the premises. I have to be here the whole time. So I can't go, and you don't want to DoorDash.
Yeah, that's tacky too.
To
DoorDash
the wedding,
shows up and walks
comes into the reception with DoorDash. Yeah. So just logistically, it's a lot harder for a vendor to feed themselves if it's somebody, and we're really talking to people that are involved all day. Yeah. If you have a coordinator, venue managers or staff, photographer, videographer, DJs, caterers, depending on the catering situation that you have.
Often caterers will already have
bartenders.
Food. Yeah, but bartenders for sure.
Yeah.
So check with your vendors, ask if it's something that you can provide them, and then just budget it in. It's really just going to be maybe 5 more meals, maybe. Yeah. So 5 more heads, and that's definitely doable. Yeah. And something it's just something. Honestly, this is my opinion as a native Utahn. Like I would say that a lot of us Utah brides are just naive begin with, and so this is something that never crossed my mind.
I didn't even think about it,
and honestly, it makes sense when I heard about it originally, and I was like, oh, I kind of wish I did that. I mean, maybe I did do that and didn't realize it. Did I feed my vendors? Did they eat? I don't know.
Yeah, now I think about it.
I mean, I wish I knew, but yeah. So I mean, don't feel bad if it's nothing you never even thought of, but just out of the kindness of your heart.
Please feed them.
Please feed.
So they don't pass out into your cake.
Please feed your day of vendors. You don't have to send a meal or a DoorDash gift card to your cake supplier.
But if they're going to be there all day on their feet, working really hard for you, please feed them. And a lot of Utah caterers, especially, will do options where they have vendor plate options that are cheaper than a regular guest plate. Yeah, they're not as fancy or whatever. Your vendor will not care. They will not care if it's not as fancy. Even if you're really stressed about it, if your caterer doesn't do a vendor plate option that's cheaper, or if they do and you're like, that's still a lot or whatever, you can even go way more budget for your vendor's food and be like, I got you guys 3 pizzas. I really think your vendor is not going to care. Your vendors are not going to care. They're going to care that they ate and they were able to fuel up and keep working hard for you because they want to be able to do that.
I don't recommend pizza if you don't want pizza.
Yeah.
Smells.
That was just that's a good point.
But yeah, it's good.
Something non-aromatic.
Carrie.
Is that a word? Aromatic? I think it's a word.
Aromatic.
Right? So you could go budget option.
And just an etiquette tip. The vendors should always eat before cleanup, but after the guests.
Right.
So somewhere in the middle. I know a lot of photographers like to get shots of like the nice table setups and the buffet setup. And so when the guests are filing through your buffet or they're serving food, that's a great time for the photographer and videographer to get some snapshots of all that. And then there's that time where people are eating, and you don't really want photos of people actually eating and their empty plates. So
that's
perfect
a great
timing
time for the photographer
to sit down, take a 5-minute break, 10-minute break, let them eat, and then they're back up and they're doing the rest.
That leads to another good point, which is we were coordinating a wedding, and they were so great, and they had a vendor table. We'll talk about that in a second. They had a vendor table that was set aside specifically for vendors. They had included vendor meals for all of us that were going to be there all day. And the photographer, who was awesome, wouldn't sit down. He was shooting. He would sit for a minute and he'd eat like 2 or 3 bites. And then because I was the coordinator, so I was in charge of when we were cleaning up and when we were doing all that stuff, he was like, don't take my plate, because
I'm not done.
He wasn't done eating, but he would eat a few bites and then he would go do something. So I just made sure that any of us that were staff that were involved would have picked it up and thrown it away. Knew, don't touch the vendor meals until we know they're done, because they're working hard, and he wanted to work so hard, and I kept being like, just sit down for a second and eat, but he would eat a few bites and then he'd run off. And, so just make sure that communication is clear on all of that stuff. So
which is also another reason why you want to hire professionals, because for example, back to the photographer example, but they have the vision long before the day starts. And so when they're sitting there and they sit down to eat, they're already thinking of, I can't miss this shot. I can't miss this shot. And so
that's
they
why
have
he kept running off. I'm like, what in the world are you possibly shooting right now?
And he does it. And so that's why you want a wedding professional, and you want to take care of them, because they care so hard.
Your photographers work so hard. At that wedding specifically, I remember just thinking the 5 people that were on their feet nonstop that day I was the day of coordinator, so I was the one that was there running coordination that day. I had an assistant coordinator, so she was with me the whole time. The 2 bartenders, the photographer, and the DJ. The 6 of us did not sit down.
And the photographer was also the videographer, right?
He was doing everything.
He was flipping back and forth. Shout out to Branson Maxwell. He's awesome.
He is. Gosh, we've worked with so many amazing vendors.
So many amazing vendors. They're incredible. They really do love you, and they love their jobs, and so they just want to be treated like a person. Question number 2 is, should you include the vendors in your head count for your guests? For example, when a caterer asks for your head count for your event, yes, absolutely. Because a caterer needs to know how many mouths they are feeding, because that's how much food they provide. So absolutely, you need to include them, especially, like we said, it's just 5, maybe 10 people max. If you really have that many on-site vendors, then so you definitely want to add that into the head count. Buffet style, it's really easy to include them. There's typically leftovers for buffet, but they still need to know. And if it's plated, obviously they need to make sure they make a plate for them as well. Don't forget to ask about vendor discounts if they can give you a cheaper plate, not as fancy or whatever it is. But if you decide to do it differently, if you decide to do a fun DIY gift, like a meal gift, a little different, maybe a picnic style one, which would be super fun. Not pizza.
I want to have a vendor picnic.
Wouldn't that be cute? Then yes, and especially if they're not eating at a table, then if that's coming not from the caterer, then definitely don't include them in your head count, because you're providing that instead. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Chick-fil-A would be great. Actually, Chick-fil-A drop catering is one of my favorites in Utah. And not just because I'm obsessed with Chick-fil-A, because I am, but that's one of the best drop catering I've ever seen, because and that's great for budget options, and it is such a crowd pleaser in general. Children love that. I actually seen it where they did a buffet that was like a little bit more upscale food for the adults, and then the child's catering was Chick-fil-A.
Smart.
And because it's just all that you can get giant nugget platters and stuff like that, and they did that for the vendors as well,
and it's stuff cheaper for you to have the kids buffet go through Chick-fil-A than to have them eat
an adult meal that they're not going to eat.
They're not going to eat.
They're not going to eat it, guys.
They'll pick at the chicken. They'll eat the cake. They'll eat dessert, and
then they'll get cranky because they're hungry and they don't have anything to eat.
That's brilliant.
We're gonna do a whole video just on
Chick-fil-A.
No, that. Please sponsor us, Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A catering.
We love you so much. No, on all the things to consider when you're having kids at your wedding.
Oh, absolutely.
We're gonna do that.
Yes.
Because and we know about that.
Yes,
we know
we
all
do.
about that.
That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Question number 3. Should you have a designated vendor table or vendor seating area? A lot of these things are about food and your vendors.
Yes.
But these are important individual questions. So if you are planning to feed your vendors anything, even if you're not, having some kind of a designated table or designated area is nice for a couple of reasons. One, we've already talked about. It's very considerate of you. And if you don't, and people notice, it might, even if it just didn't occur to you, because we talked about that, and it just didn't occur to either one of us.
Yeah.
Mine was like an all-inclusive mostly, so it wasn't like quite the same as individual vendors, but it did not occur to me at all. Yeah. I did not think about it.
And sometimes a venue doesn't have a place for them to go.
That's what yeah. And so if you don't have a designated spot for them, it might make you look inconsiderate to your guests, even though maybe you just didn't think about it, because there's nowhere for the vendors. Because if you don't give them a spot to go, they're going to have to find like a little tucked away corner to eat. Yeah. That's not always going to be possible in a venue, and nothing looks weirder and feels weirder as a vendor, I can say that, than like 5 people standing in a corner trying to like act like they're not eating because they're trying to not be an eyesore to the rest of the room.
And don't make them
it's so awkward.
Don't make them hide in the bathroom stall to eat their food. Like, poor things.
I know. So
they're working hard.
It looks way better to just, they have a table and people aren't going to feel weird about it.
Yeah, and it, just like you're doing a seating chart, you just mark that table 12 or whatever is a vendor table. Yeah. And then no one will sit there, and then nobody has to feel awkward.
Yeah. Well, if you don't want them at like one of your fancy schmancy, like fully decorated tables, you don't have to. If there's a spare room that you have access to, you're allowed to use. Or there's a spot in the venue, they're not going to care. In fact, sometimes vendors really like having a place not in the main room, where if they have to go sit for a minute, because they have like 4 minutes to sit down, or if photographers need to, they have equipment. Sometimes they need to, sometimes they need to have, or they have extra batteries, or they have extra like stuff, and they need to go and switch out. Having somewhere even to just like put their personal belongings. Because I've done that too, where I get somewhere and I'm like, where can I put my purse? It's not, because I need it in the building, but out of the way, and they don't know. Just thinking of that ahead of time, being like, hey, here's your little designated spot. Sometimes that's really nice for them, because also certain vendor jobs, you're not moving the whole time, but you want to look professional the whole time, so that they know. And so sometimes they're just going to be like standing in a corner trying to be like, oh, I'm just standing here because I'm trying to not be weird. And then sometimes as a vendor, you feel like you're just like creeping weirdly in the corner because you're like, I'm just standing here because there's nowhere else for me to go. So so just think about, if you do have a designated area, it looks better for you, it's nicer for them, it's just good for everybody all around. Question number 4
doesn't have to do with food.
No, finally.
So but it's a very, very important question that I don't think people think about sometimes. Should you pay your vendors travel fees or overnight accommodations? So you do need to think about this one, especially if you're doing an off-grid wedding, like actually off-grid, because we've got Zions, we've got Moab, we've got a lot of mountain destinations that you can have your wedding at. And so being able to pay for your photographer's travel fees is one of the biggest things. Most photographers, we keep saying photographers.
That's just a real good example.
The most common. Yes. Yeah. So your content creator, your
wedding planner,
any of those people that typically will put in their pricing, within 20 miles of this location, I have to, you have to pay their gas or travel fee. That's really common. Yeah. So factoring that in for sure is really important. But what about, overnight? This is actually getting really common with the multiple day weddings that are happening more and more.
Weekend weddings are traveling over from the UK. Yeah. And getting way more common in the States.
Yeah. And so it's overnight. Do you pay for their hotel accommodations? Well, we say yes.
It depends on the vendor, but yeah.
Yes. Especially if you need them early the next morning. Otherwise, you're paying their travel fees twice, honestly. Because if they have to drive twice, you're paying their gas. So if you have the option to be able to, if you're doing an Airbnb with multiple rooms, remember them. If you have the option of just multiple hotel rooms, remember them. It's just most likely you are, yes, going to have to pay for their accommodations in whatever your wedding plan is. And again, if you want the photos you're dreaming of, you're going to want to pay a good photographer to do that and to be there. And they will happily make that dream come true if you compensate them.
Yeah.
Fairly.
Okay, question number 5. And this is kind of a funny one, but if you're an awesome party person and you might think about this, should you give your vendors alcohol at your wedding? In Utah, due to is it DABS or DOBS?
I don't know how you pronounce it.
DABS.
Yep.
And what does that stand for again?
The Department of Alcoholic Beverages Services.
I have to ask you every time.
Yeah, that's okay.
So according to DABS or DOBS.
Thank you, Dab.
Yes. And like those laws and liability, vendors cannot drink while working, even if alcohol is served. So the good thing is that's one less expense for you if you're having alcohol at your wedding, is you don't have to worry about including your vendors in the head count for your bartender because they cannot drink while they're on the clock. Yeah.
And if you have one that's drinking on the clock,
that's probably not a good thing.
You should have chose a different vendor.
Yeah, that's not great.
No, most wedding vendors are very professional. I have not met one like that, unless you're hiring, again, like your cousin to be the photographer. That's a whole different story. We're not talking about that at all.
We're just talking professionals.
We're talking about not the ones that you are related to. Question number 6 is it's a pretty hot button issue. Should you tip your vendors?
This is a hot button issue. People have feelings.
People do have feelings. People wonder, why would I tip my vendors when I already paid them?
Yeah.
And honestly, if you pay attention, most vendors, bartenders, caterers especially, they already include gratuity in their pricing.
Yeah.
So that's honestly one of the first things that people get tripped over when they see a quote from a caterer or a bartender, is they don't initially consider the gratuity that's put in there, which is always between 18 and 25%. And so they're like, oh, wait, that's, $1,000 I wasn't planning on. Okay. Well, if that's already included in one of your invoices, then, you don't have to. No, this is honestly
optional anyway.
Optional.
Always optional.
Yeah. This one is, it's controversial, but you can really make that choice on your own. But if you're asking us if it's included in their invoice already, great, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't even feel the need to give them a cash tip. If it's not, for example,
it's up to you.
Yeah, it's really up to you. I know that when I was just a little wee caterer employee, staff member once upon a time, that I never expected to be tipped, but it did happen a lot.
Oh, really?
It happened at weddings or really big corporate events, and if you did a really good job, they felt like that you were very professional and you made sure to maintain the cleanliness of the event and things like that. That often the host would come and give me $20 bill or something, and that was great. It made me feel good. It made me feel like I did a good job, and it kind of refuels you to go back to work the next day. So. Yeah, I would say depending on the situation, depending on who you've got there, it's up to you. Really. Yeah, it's up to you. But some very common vendors that require, not always require, that's why they put them in their invoice.
It's just
but it's very common.
Regular.
Yeah, it's very typical to see it in there.
Yeah.
Are photographers and videographers. That could be anywhere from $50 to $200 or 5 to 10% of the package you choose. Hair and makeup can be 15 to 25%, kind of like salon tipping.
Yeah.
DJ and band, 50 to 150. Planner and coordinator, not required, but also very appreciated. 10% or a personal gift, really. Yeah. Like I mentioned, I have been tipped before, but I've also not expected it.
Yeah.
So I wasn't offended if somebody didn't tip me. It's just, most vendors, like I said, will include it if it's something that they truly believe is necessary.
Yeah.
Or it's just up to you. And they're not going to get offended by it.
So. Yeah. I think the only time I ever got tipped as a venue as the on-site manager for the venue, for a venue where I was just in charge of the venue and making sure everything went well. Yeah. I got tipped out. I was not thinking it was going to happen, and it was because we hit a lot of snags, and it was one of those where mother of the groom had planned a whole wedding and was so stressed. Poor thing, was so stressed, And she was so sweet, and I was already there. I was always ending up doing more jobs,
right,
just being manager on site, because
right.
it's like, I'm already here, I'm already trying to help, like, might as well do more stuff if I can.
Right.
So I was just trying to help her as much as I could, and at the end of the night she was just like hugged me and said, can I give this to you? I was like, oh no, that's weird, I've never been tipped. And she was like, please, I'm just so happy that you were here. I was like, oh, it's just because she was just stressed. So people aren't gonna expect it of you in the wedding industry. Like, your vendors aren't gonna expect it, right? But but it can be nice. We now just have a couple of tips. These aren't like necessarily questions, they're just general tips for things with how you treat your vendors.
Yeah, proper etiquette. So one of the tips I would say is, especially if you don't give them an actual cash tip, one of the best things you can do to show gratitude is to leave a review. Yes. That is honestly the cheapest, most effective way you could help your vendors if you're grateful for the job they did. Leave a review on Google, leave a review on whatever site platform they're using. If they send out an email, a couple days after your event asking for a review, then do it. Take the 5 minutes or less to type out just one thing that you loved about what they did or what you're grateful for, and it goes a long way.
And vendors can also review each other. Like, you know what I mean? They can shout out each other. I hadn't thought about that. The first time I had a vendor be like, I totally want to, because it was a DJ, and he was like, I was coordinator on site, and he was like, you did so good, I want to like give you a shout out on social media. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, that's such a good point. If you work with because vendors, we see how other vendors work. So if you're able to then be like, no, this vendor is great with this, you can do that for each other too. I think that's really nice. Another good tip is try your very best to pay all of your vendors' final payments before you hit before your wedding day, or especially before you get to the party point of your wedding day. Okay. And I have to say, so we love Jamie Wolfer. She's a YouTube wedding planner. I remember like a year and a half ago watching a video where she was like, make sure you pay all your final invoices before the wedding day if you can. Yeah. This is not always possible, because sometimes certain vendor things you don't want to pay them until final payment, until they've shown up and they've actually delivered the goods or they've done the thing, because sometimes vendors won't show up. We have seen that happen. We've seen vendors just ghost on the wedding day and never come. So you definitely, there's ones that you want to wait to pay. But I remember watching that video, she's like, get those payments before dancing starts at the very least. But at this wedding, we thought all the final invoices were taken care of day before, before we got to wedding day. And there was one that half of the rest of the invoice still needed to be paid. And can I tell you how rotten it was? Trying to go bother the groom while he was mid dancing to be like, we have one more vendor that needs the rest of their final payment. And I did feel like, I was like, I failed Jamie Wolfer. I failed her. I didn't get payment before he started dancing. He was so nice about it.
But in this case, the groom and the bride were paying for
they were the ones.
Whole wedding.
We were coordinating it, but we would send them the invoices and they would pay them. That's how they wanted to do payments. But I just felt so bad. He was so nice, but I was so ashamed of myself. I was like, Jamie told me so long ago, make sure you get this to happen, and I messed it up.
No.
Anyway, it's not great for you as a couple. You don't want to be bothered when you're mid dance and you're finally letting loose.
But part of that wasn't necessarily, or doesn't have to necessarily be the coordinator's fault, or even the client's fault, because some vendors, like you said, don't require their payment until after the service is done. So this particular vendor, this caterer, was interesting because they did do half a deposit as a retainer, and then they didn't even ask for the rest until they were totally after the event was over. So that actually makes it a lot harder, because you're not getting those emails that kind of remind you of, oh, I have a payment. But if you we're saying that as a client, or as the bride and groom or whoever, if you're paying, just stay on top of it. Stay on top of the things you need to pay, because it's not fun to go back and see like, oh shoot, I forgot to pay that $2,000 invoice for food or whatever. Just get them all paid before. Make sure that you are set and you can just enjoy the day, enjoy the party. It's just way easier for everybody. And vendors hate chasing you down. They hate chasing you down money. They just want it to be a good fun time for you as well. So don't do that. And the last tip This one's a personal one that we've both had to experience before. But if something goes wrong on your wedding day, please don't blame your vendors.
Yeah.
Now, hold on. Let me explain.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, if a vendor ghosts you, or clearly it was a vendor's fault, something happened or something went awry, then obviously that is clearly their fault, things like that. But more often than not, I'll say that again, more often than not, things just can go wrong.
They will. Something is going to go wrong on your wedding day. It doesn't matter how well everybody does their job. It's just an event.
Yeah. So just in general, just because you didn't enjoy the way it worked out, just because the venue got hotter than you wanted it to be, or a certain part of your timeline failed, whatever it is. I mean, it's hard not to point the finger because you don't want to feel guilty or whatever it is, but just let it go. Honestly, that's really just the tip there. It's like, we're all people. All your vendors are people, and maybe they made a mistake here and there, but they will do their damn hardest to make sure that it comes back together and that they fix it if they did something wrong. I can't tell you how many times that we got maybe a bad review from something we could not control.
No,
and it's
can't control the weather.
Well, yeah, especially weather. But it's like, what do you do to that? Like, I wish I could, especially if you're just fishing for money. Yeah, just be a good person. Yeah, but
and don't blame things on a vendor that had nothing to do with what went wrong. That has happened to both of us as well. I was just manager on site once, not the coordinator at all. I'd had no help in the coordinating at all. And I was just the one in charge of the building. And this poor mother of the bride was like, where's the caterer? Why is the caterer not here yet? And I was like, I've never even met your caterer. I don't know. I'm not in charge of this. Like, I don't know who they are. I don't know where they are.
Yeah. And that brings us to another episode we will do about the difference between wedding coordinators and venue managers.
It's very different.
Very different roles. There have been some reels out there I've seen on Instagram, lots of them for a while. It's kind of died off a bit, but there's a huge difference. And if you expect something from a vendor that's really not their responsibility, then you really shouldn't leave them a bad review for something they weren't responsible to do in the first place. So you got to know. You got to know.
They're just people. And they really care. Most of the vendors we've worked with are just absolutely incredible people.
Such good people.
With amazing skills and talents, and they really are putting those talents toward trying to give you your perfect wedding day. They're honestly trying to do that.
Yeah.
It doesn't always go perfectly, but that is the goal.
So just to recap, treat your vendors well, and they will take care of you.
Yeah.
Just, a little communication and kindness and food goes a long way.
Does, yes.
So do you agree? Do you disagree? Vendors, chime in. Let us know everyone's thoughts down in the comments. Give us your input. Let us know what you think.
Also, show that like button some love and subscribe so that you can get all of the tricks and all of the budget stuff and all the things. All the things for Utah weddings.
If you are a wedding vendor or venue that wants to be showcased, or if you know of a wedding vendor that we have to interview, please email us all of your suggestions, your questions, and your feedback to episodes@utahweddingcentral.com.